mynews.studio.
Picture a single yellow canoe moving quietly past ancient trees in the Amazon. What happens when this journey ends up changing the fate of a whole forest?
Today's date is July 23, 2025. The Munduruku people have just received official recognition of their ancestral land, Sare Muibu, in Para, Brazil. Over 178,000 hectares right in the Amazon. Why did it take almost 20 years for this to happen?
That's a good place to start. The process actually began all the way back in 2007, but it hit a wall for years. There was a lot of political and economic pushback. Logging, mining, big infrastructure projects, all competing for the same land. But the Munduruku didn't just wait around. In 2014, they began self-demarcating. They physically entered the rainforest, mapped their boundaries, and forced illegal invaders out.
Did they do that on their own, or was there support from outside?
They did have support, both from national and international organizations, but the main push came from within the community. Their actions really stood out and became an example for other indigenous groups across Brazil. By September 25, 2024, their work paid off. The Ministry of Justice declared Sare Mubu Munduruku land in perpetuity. That's a huge legal step, but it's not the finish line.
So what still needs to happen? Is this official recognition completely final, or is there more to go?
It's not fully final yet. The declaration is a big milestone, but there are still on-the-ground steps to complete. The land actually needs to be marked out administratively. Plus, removing illegal miners and loggers can only happen after the president signs the final ratification. Resistance is ongoing. Illegal gold mining and logging are still present. The Munduruku are staying active, organizing their own patrols, and working with NGOs for monitoring.
So the big question is, can the government really enforce these protections, especially with so many interests at play in the Amazon?
That's where it gets complicated. Enforcement is tough because of ongoing deforestation, new legislative changes, and projects like the Ferrogrão Railway. If that railway goes ahead, it would cut through indigenous territories. Now, the legal recognition of Sare Muibu makes the constitutional case for indigenous land rights stronger.
Wait, so the railway could still go forward even with this recognition?
Potentially, yes. The recognition strengthens the legal case, but it doesn't guarantee a stop. The political situation is changing, and new laws could make it harder to demarcate land in the future.
And what about the global impact? How does protecting Sare Mubu affect the wider Amazon and really the whole world?
The Amazon is one of the world's biggest carbon sinks. What happens in Sare Muibu matters for climate stability everywhere. Research shows that indigenous managed lands see less deforestation. The Munduruku use traditional knowledge but also work with NGOs to monitor the environment. Protecting their territory isn't just a local win. It's part of a larger global effort to protect the climate.
Their approach sounds like it could be a model for other indigenous groups, maybe even governments. Does this set a legal precedent?
It does. It reinforces the constitutional foundation for indigenous rights in Brazil. And it's already serving as an example for other countries facing similar struggles. The Munduruku's method of self-demarcation has inspired other communities too. Still, they have to keep fighting for a real say in decisions about their land, pushing for their constitutional right to free, prior, and informed consultation.
So it's a milestone, but definitely not the end of the journey.
Exactly. It's a reason to celebrate, but also a reminder to keep pushing for both enforcement and recognition, not just for the Munduruku, but for indigenous peoples everywhere.
The Sare Muibu story is really about land, law, and how cultural survival is tied to the health of the planet.
And it shows what's possible when communities literally stand their ground to protect what matters most.
We appreciate you joining us. Today, we've looked at the Munduruku's fight for land rights, the challenges that remain with enforcement and law, and why this matters far beyond the Amazon.
Thank you for listening. This episode comes from mynews.studio. You can try it now for free.